Good morning and welcome to this session on security use cases, what works, what does not, ideas, innovation, commercialization, so on. I think with the emergence of cybersecurity as the hot topic of the day, and with many more startups coming in, I think we have a lot of entrepreneurs in this space, and we have a lot of corporate customers seeking newer and newer technologies in securing the cyberspace. For this, we have a very eminent panel here, and I would now invite the moderator, Mr. Anurag Batra. Request him to join us on the dais. Mr. Anurag is the chairman, editor-in-chief of Businessworld Media Group. He is a serial entrepreneur, media mogul, journalist, and eternal optimist, all rolled into one. He's a first-generation entrepreneur and acquired the iconic business media magazine brand Businessworld, which is a 35-year-old strong media brand and is the most respected business publication in the country. And with that, over to Mr. Anurag to take forward this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Shrikant. Thank you for joining us here. And, you know, I know that all of you are interested in building a product company and you believe that the domain of security and information security is something that you can build something. And it is not the most glamorous domain, but it does impact. So we have a great set of panelists, and we have a very eclectic panel in the sense that we have an investor who's invested into a security company and understand the space. We have an operator in the sense somebody who's founded a security company and is growing it. And we have somebody who built a product company, then sold it to a larger technology services company. So in that sense, we have a perfect panel. So let me call on stage first Ashish Tandon, who's the founder and CEO of Indusface. Please give Ashish a big round of applause. Welcome, Ashish. Second, let me call Prakash Baskaran, who's the CTO Security Solutions of Cisco. Prakash is an entrepreneur who sold his company to Cisco, and that's how he's part of Cisco. Prakash, we welcome you on the panel. Please give them a big round of applause. Last but not the least, let me call Prayank Swaroop, who's a principal at Accel Partners. And you know, they have a large portfolio of investments, about 100 plus companies. Their sweet spot is between $2 to $5 million of investment, and they put money in a security company. You know, we were all going to make PowerPoint presentations, and somebody told us that PowerPoint presentations are made by people who are neither powerful nor have a point of view. So we decided against it, so we're going to talk. While I briefly introduced all the three panelists, let me request them to add to that. So we'll start with you, Ashish, and then basically we look at 5 aspects. One is the size of the market and the opportunity. Second, what will take to scale it up. Third is, will we build a product company in the security services space from India? Fourth, we look at some test cases, you know, who are doing well, not doing well, can do better. And last but not the least, areas which are yet not explored, and some of you can be entrepreneurial in those areas and build security companies. So really broadly, that's what we will follow. We'll do a 40-minute discussion and maybe a 15-minute Q&A, and we'll stick to our time. So Ashish, we go with you first.
Good afternoon. I'm Ashish. As Anurag mentioned, I run a security company. My company is called Indusface. We essentially help secure web and mobile applications from hackers. You know, I was joking with one of my doctor friends last week that, you know, however bad it might sound, but the chikungunya and dengue are really helping his business. So, and this week he called me up and told me, boss, you are in business as well. You know, the data card, all the credit card hacks, what happened. Abhi tu bhi busy hoga. Don't tell me I'm the only one who's busy. So anyway, so we essentially help secure web and mobile applications. We have about 800 plus customers. Our solutions are deployed in about 17 countries. In the last 12 months, Indusface was rated as a hot startup by 4 of the top independent bodies, so that makes it very heartening.
You know, Ashish knows a bit about being competitive. He's been a competitive Ranji Trophy player. He was a fast bowler. He used to play for Baroda. So really he understands what it takes to compete, because sports is one domain where you really compete and there are no ifs and buts. Either you bowl well or you don't bowl well. There's nothing like because somebody did something I didn't bowl well. And that's the kind of entrepreneurial energy he brings to his venture. Prakash.
Hi, I'm Prakash Baskaran. Currently, I'm with Cisco, but my startup was in the file and document security space. The company name was Pava Software. I ran it for about 8.5, 9 years before we become part of Cisco. I'll tell more about what we did there and how we become Cisco, etc. As time goes along here. But primarily, I'm an entrepreneur. So Pava was my 5th startup, and hopefully not the last one.
Hi guys, I'm Prayank. I'm a principal with Accel Partners. We are a $500 million venture capital fund in India, and we have offices in US as well as in UK, and those are separate funds. So globally we manage close to $12 billion. One of the reasons I'm here is Accel has a very big portfolio in security companies, and however we have invested in 1 or 2 companies in India, but our majority of our portfolio lies outside of India right now. So we've invested in companies like Sukasa, which works on top of Dropbox. We've invested in Airwatch, which is an enterprise mobility security company, in CrowdStrike, and some of these companies. And hopefully I can add something to this panel. Obviously they know much more than me, but typically we like to do very early stage rounds. So we are popular in India for investing in Flipkart, Book My Show, Myntra, as well as for the enterprise-minded guys here in Freshdesk. So that's our claim to fame in India. Globally, we invest a lot in enterprise security, so enterprise software, SaaS, and we've done a bunch of exits in that space as well. So
Fantastic. I just want to get a sense of the audience. How many of you are entrepreneurs in the room? 70-80%. How many of you have an enterprise or aspire to build an enterprise in the security domain? 1, 2, 3. 3 of you. Okay. And the rest of you are in brick and mortar startups, or you are in a IT enabled e-commerce startups? Just want to get a sense of what the audience is. So are you, what do you do? Louder. You're not a Punjabi, clearly. I am a loud Punjabi from Delhi. I normally don't need a mic, but. Fantastic. So we dive into the discussion, and again, we're at the NASSCOM product conclave, and we're discussing about security, which is not that, it is very, very critical and very important in going. I mean, today we are more connected than we ever were. Enterprises are more connected than they ever were. They're more complex. The scale is much bigger. The applications are mission critical. You can't have a downtime. As I have 2 kids, 13 and 9. It's okay to do anything with them. They're fine. But if you really want to punish them, my kids are very well mannered because my wife is really, really strict. But the only way to punish them is to switch their Wi-Fi off, right? That's the best way to punish them, if at all you want to. So similarly, giving you an enterprise, you can't have a downtime in any of the applications because it's in the new normal, right? Your downtime has to be 0. And the complexity has gone up. And as Ashish talked about the fact that today, we encountered the fraud last week in terms of debit cards. Not only companies, but countries are at risk. Institutions are at risk. And there are numerous examples from India, from outside India. Again, over the last 4 or 5 weeks, when our tensions escalated to Pakistan, there have been attacks on our critical installations. I know while we talk about the surgical strikes, and let me also say surgical strikes have keep happening in the past also, but really there is a lot of cyber attack on India from either Pakistani hackers or Chinese hackers supported by Pakistan, right? So really, we know what happened with WikiLeaks. So information security is going to determine how companies do, how institutions do, how countries do, And there is a huge business, and it's going to become bigger and bigger and bigger, because hackers and entrepreneurs with devil attitude will find new ways of hacking. So new products will be brought to fore. And again, as I said, we are a breakaway session, and we are speaking on the second day, right? Today's the first day, second day? Second day. We have a challenge as a panel. The challenge is the same challenge that the seventh husband of Elizabeth Taylor faced on the night of the honeymoon. You know what the challenge was? Do you know what the challenge was? Yes or no? On the night of the honeymoon, the seventh husband of Elizabeth Taylor said to Elizabeth Taylor, "Darling, I know what I'm supposed to do, but I hope I make it interesting." So I hope whatever we do over the next 30, 40 minutes, we make it interesting and relevant. So Ashish, give us a sense of how you're doing marketing. Because again, building the product is one. Go-to market is possibly the most important and the toughest. And then second is building margins. Third is building scale. Tell us how you've been able to build 800 customers that you talked about, how you scaled up, and what is enabling it. And if it has to become the global company, there are many global companies both in the enterprise space and in the consumer space. How will it happen?
So we, as a company, traditionally we started off, in India, the people who first adopted security were traditional large enterprises. When I say enterprises, are like banks, insurance companies, telcos, large enterprise conglomerates like Tata and Reliance and all that. And there are three reasons for them to, there have always been three reasons for a customer to buy our security software. One is people who are concerned about their brand. If a breach happens, it affects their brand and their stock price can go up and down. That would be one of the reasons. Second is, of course, they don't want debit card and credit card numbers and transactions being hacked, and somebody controls them and takes advantage. So financial stuff. And third is the third one, which is now getting more and more prominent, is the compliance aspect of things. So a lot of also. Like if you're collecting payment or cards online, there's PCI, which is a body which kind of governs what security you need to do. So these are the three reasons why we get to buy. So we started off as enterprise customers, and they were the early adopters. We are very proud to have 3 out of top 5 banks as the customers. Largest insurance companies subscribe to us. And then lately we are now seeing. I was reading about the NASSCOM chairman just announced. Research saying that in India there are currently 4,000 startups, and by end of 2020 they are saying it might be fourfold and become 15,000. Meaning that's a new age. What we are also finding is new age technologies using web or mobile apps to reach out to their customers, and these customers are not necessarily just India; they can be global, right? So, as I said, the dynamics are changing, and so has our marketing programs have also changed as well, right? Selling to the enterprises, traditional companies was the traditional way of doing it: participate in some large event, sponsor it, have sales guys go meet them, wine and dine, and get them on board. So that was the traditional way. Since last 1 year, we realized there are other opportunities which are becoming global and much faster, and time to market is becoming. For example, we are now completely integrated with the AWS. Now, AWS is the largest public cloud of the world. They have a marketplace. Our product is integrated with that with the marketplace. So if anybody is an AWS customer, within a few clicks can get their website or a mobile app which is hosted there, can get secured in minutes now, which earlier used to take 2-3 months of trials and talking to customers. So that's that one, and it gives immediate global scale, right? I mean, if we are on the platform, all I need to do is spend marketing dollars, whether I'm doing the other new age mechanisms we are doing is using a lot of research blogs, like talking about security, educating them as to what security is, what can go wrong, stuff like that. The other mechanism which is working very well for us is, instead of doing online, offline events, webinars. We do customer webinars. I think most of the ecosystem here or wherever it is, they are more interested in what is that company going. So we do customer webinars where the customers come and are openly talking about what are the breaches happened, how we help them secure them, what are the things they are doing. The third aspect is digital, right? So we're using a lot of digital. Using Twitter, LinkedIn, some of Google AdWords, stuff like that. So, though I think those are the new age marketing aspects which are working well and also are giving us cloud. Like sitting here, we are doing a program in specific to say the Bay Area or San Francisco, using these vendors and doing programs there and generating leads and trying to get to. So as the world is evolving, threats are evolving, I also feel as a startup, we are also getting, again, all these channels are pay as you go, right? So I can do $1,000 test marketing and say, did this work? Does it work? Does not work? So, and will it work in this region? Are there any apprehensions? So I think these are some of the aspects which I'm seeing are helping us get scale, and we can scale faster. So I would say the three things which, according to me, are helping me get scale are public cloud availability. So they have what, several million customers. That opens up immediately to me as soon as I get there. Digital marketing mechanisms and online mechanisms, connectivity are the other aspects which are getting there. I think those are the two major things which I think is helping me get faster than I was doing in the last 4 years.
Ashish, you rightly shared the trajectory of growth and how you're growing. Prakash, today the rise in the security startups, the growth of existing software or security products is mirrored by the growing importance of the CISO. 5 years back, there was no CISO. The CIO was doing the role of the CISO. And as Prayank was educating me, the security, information security market is about 100 billion globally, growing at 30%. And India, it's a very small market relatively. Can't put a number, but it's less than 100 million, right? So really, we are at an infancy. Where do you see where will we in 3 years, 5 years? And really, what percentage of the technology spend is going into security?
So yeah, you hit it on the nail. The key buyer today of any security product or infrastructure is the CISO in any organization. The position didn't even exist, about 10 years ago. But any organization you take now, the CISO is responsible for data security, compliance, and overall information security part of it. So he becomes the key buyer in terms of making the decision and moving forward. So now, how do we sell into those companies and sell into those individuals, especially sitting from in India?
Give us some stories. Give us some anecdotes.
Okay, so let me give you a story. So let me give a background of Power, and then I can relate to what you're asking. So we built a platform. Essentially, the platform is built with the premise that gone are the days when you used only email for exchange of files. Today, we use cloud storage, we use WhatsApp, we use chat, we use cloud application. There are multiple different mechanisms from which information goes out, be it your partners or customers or internal employees or whoever it may be. And this unstructured data, files or streams, whatever you will, carries the sensitive information, which again comes under the purview of compliance and data security. So massive problem because the ease of use that exists today in terms of transferring information and sharing information, etc. And people try to put a lid on it. Either they become too rigid and they come in the way of running the business, or obviously doors are open, a lot of security issues comes in. So that's the problem we wanted to solve with what we did. Unfortunately, the file security, the moment you mention it, hey, why can't you use encryption? And encryption has been around for the last 20, 25 years. Except with the ease of use of transferring files, the same ease of use doesn't exist in securing the files. So that's what we wanted to bring about. And easier said than done. It took us 3 years of R&D. We filed 6 patents total. 5 were granted in USPTO. Now we were able to go in and say, hey, here's a single-click application with which you can secure files, and then you would be able to recall the information, expire the information, and track the usage of it. And more importantly, the user who is receiving the information doesn't have to do like 30 things, before he can open the information, because that's the biggest hurdle. 90% of the people hate security and encryption because you were forced to do so many things prior to using the information. So we did a lot of research, and we had a platform that allowed companies and individuals to secure information in any different format that the files were transferred. So now, coming back to your question, how do we relate this in an enterprise world? A product company sitting in India, doesn't matter how much value you have technically, you still have to overcome a lot of perception issues, right? End of the day, if you're a security company, you are expected to be in Israel or US. These are the only two destinations. Everything else, you got to have huge differentiators. I remember one meeting in Pentagon. We went and met with Air Force there, and this is just about the time when WikiLeaks had happened, and we were talking about how easy it is to secure information, regardless of where the information resides, and how easy to track and recall, should there be a data leak. And we also explained, why Symantec or a McAfee or Intel or other players don't have such easy to use technology. Very impressed, the folks were very impressed, and they were like, wow, where were you guys, et cetera, et cetera. And we asked a very naive question, so when do we start a POC? When do we get this deployed? And the guy looked at me like I was from Mars. Where did you develop this? Where do you want to deploy this, right? So right there, the message was very sound and clear. Regardless of how technically sound you are, you got to, as a product company, security product company out of India, you got to get over that hump of perception, and that is not an easy thing to do. Without a brand name backing you behind it, it's just not an easy one. And I can give another incident at PR Newswire, who had evaluated all sorts of security companies that were out there, the big names, obviously. But the CEO had one point to me.
Of PR Newswire.
PR Newswire, who basically collect all the information and disseminate information. CEO had one question for me. I know the hackers, Chinese hackers, are already in my network. So there's, please don't sell me about file security, network security, application security. Now, how do I secure that information? Again, we were able to convince them that, what if the information already comes to you secure, then it doesn't matter who is in your network. Information is secure.
So it cannot go out even if they're in.
Exactly. Right. Other than the authorized users, nobody else would be able to consume. But then for us to get over that CISO hump of who are you, where are you from, how do we know it works, how do you know you don't hack our information? So it's an enormous challenge as a security company and especially a startup without a big brand name backing you.
Good. And the reason Prakash mentions that is we haven't really produced a single product company from India in any domain of significance, scale, and impact. I mean, if anybody comes up with a name, I'll give them $1 billion. I don't have it, but I'll try and get it, right? Because I'll make 5 billion on that company. So really, and my philosophical answer is that in India, we only celebrate success. We do not celebrate failure. Silicon Valley celebrates failure. And hence they are able to experiment, push the boundaries and be able to come up with something that works. In India, we tell our kids, oh, you got to, I don't know if some of you have kids, we don't tell our kids you can fail. We tell them, no, I mean, you can't fail. You have to do well. And that's the kind of culture doesn't produce the kind of companies Israel produces. So anyway, that's another topic for discussion. Priyank, you possibly are the ringside view and you're the elephant in the room because you put the money. Tell us about the trends. Tell us about some companies you looked at and you didn't put money. Give us some real life example of where the security product industry is going.
Right, but before I come to that, 2 points. So I have actually failed in college twice, not once but twice. And I actually tell my kid to fail. Okay, and I meet anybody.
You have your wife's permission?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, because see, so just to be, sorry, this for me it's very very emotional topic. I go to IMB, I go to INSEAD, I give lectures there, and I ask all those B school students, have any of you failed? You're sitting in an entrepreneurship lecture talking to a VC, you want to do a startup. Have any of you failed any undergrad course, any MBA college? Have you been fired? Most of the people say, like they start looking at each other. Is anybody going to say yes? Then I will say yes. Otherwise, I will not. Right? I am openly telling you I failed. My employer does not know that because they never checked it. But doesn't matter because I am pretty confident it does not affect you. Once you fail, only then you can learn actually how to rise
And
back.
just to Priyank, you never fail. The individual or the individual never fails. It's the enterprise that fails, and the individual always succeeds. He or she goes and builds something. So in my view, it's your idea or your endeavor or your initiative failed. You didn't fail. You are successful.
Anyway, we'll take it offline. So cool. So yeah. So coming back to your question, right? So see, in India, we have looked at a large number of security companies. And actually, by large is a misnomer. See, if we look at, so Accel would generally look at, let's say, 3,000 companies a year across all our people in the firm. But we would be probably looking at 10 security companies in India, right? Not in a year and not more than that. And that is to say, one, it's not that much of innovation is happening. I think innovation is happening, but it's sitting inside, like, Prakash mentioned, inside a Cisco or inside a Qualcomm, or because they have those divisions working on those products. We are starting to see some new, young guys coming out and saying we will do IoT security, we will do drone security, but still, I think they unfortunately lack the experience, exposure in India to do that. Now, the reason, we have not funded any of these companies is something what one Prakash alluded to again, and Ashish has had some parts of it changing. But what Prakash mentioned was majority of the security product selling happens to be in US. You have to build a lot of credibility. It's like getting your logos. So you can't get your first logo. You have to hustle to get that first big logo to use you, and they will use you. Oh, if Microsoft is using you, then I can probably try it. If if they will not agree if you get small startups to use your product. Right, unless until that startup becomes big. If Flipkart is using, then okay, Snapdeal guy will say, okay, I will also use you. But if that is not, if you're, let's say, some small e-commerce company is using you, then they will not. Right? I think that has been the single biggest challenge for us, because also when as investors, we typically not necessarily might understand the technology behind the security as well, because the security field is becoming very complex. You have AI, you have all sorts of new mechanisms coming in. So what we also depend a lot on our validation is understanding how the companies have faced the customers, how are they using it, what is the feedback from them. We depend a lot on also understanding how long has the company been running in terms of deployment, so that we can see if any incidents happened, how did that actually how did the company change the product? What did they learn? How did the company solve those problems? And what is the customer, saying that yes, it actually helped me saving. So we depend a lot on that, right? We cannot actually go sit down and look at the algorithms of the company. It's just hard, right? And because as things are becoming more and more complex, and that's why an investor might engage. Let's say I might engage if I come to a DRM company. I might engage with Prakash and say, hey Prakash, can you look at this and say, what do you think about this? But the problem is, security is also becoming very, very specific. It's becoming very niche, right? So
Of course, it is very specialized.
it's becoming very specialized, right?
Right.
So, and it's like, people are saying, okay, I will self-driving cars. I will build a security company for providing security on self-driving cars, right? Because they have their own protocols, and it's becoming that niche. And when it becomes that niche, what happens is market size also decreases.
Absolutely.
Right? And then it becomes the question for us as investors, should we put money in that company or not? So I think there is a fine balance between which market you pick. Can you get customers in it? If you are making a startup in security, like these are some of the points, right? So you need to have enough track record to be able to convince track record and customers to be able to convince a investor that, hey, I have enough people believing in me to put money. And this has become the catch-22 situation of sorts. So,
Good. So Priyank, I've had the good pleasure, Prakash talked about Israel. I've had the good pleasure of going to Israel. And I went to an accelerator 7 years back in Kyrgyzstan outside Tel Aviv, which is like Manesar, like IMT Manesar. or some, I don't know what is the equivalent in Bangalore. And I met a company, huh? Whitefield, okay. I met a company that was combing the internet for, it's like a social listening and security combined. So, first they listen and then they kind of deploy. And it has become $1 billion company in revenues. $1 billion company in revenue. Uh, so really, you're right that Israel, because of the kind of Israel itself, it is a small market, so they really develop products and services for outside Israel. And Israel has this innovation culture, and they have lots of adversity, which really makes them very entrepreneurial. They have something in their genes, right? Uh, would you suggest Indian companies to relocate there and work out of there and be an Israeli company started by Indian founders and then addressing the Indian market and the American market, both being very big for various reasons?
No, no, not at all. I mean, so let me, I mean, what I want to tell you is it's hard for an Indian company to do sales, like, Prakash mentioned. But if you're an Indian company domiciled in US, and we have done that, a lot of our companies who actually do sales in US, the US company, because the US government, for example, is willing to work with you because you have an office in US. They can come and catch you if something goes wrong. Right? So that is first. So you might
They
have
have
to
drones, they
relocate.
can catch you now.
Sorry?
They have drones, even if you're in India, they'll send a drone.
Well, okay, so, but yeah, so the idea there is that what we have seen is just especially for security companies, the ease of doing business becomes easier if you are actually domiciled in the geography in which you are going to do your business, because the regulators feel that yes, this is something I can, and the worldwide majority of companies in security work with the government. So
Absolutely.
Palantir is a very big example of that. The whole company has only one customer, which is the US government. And now they're starting to set up an office in India, and they will have the Indian government as a customer. Right?
Absolutely.
And the Indian government would have issues with that because they will say, hey, you are a US company, and I don't want to share my state secrets in your platform. So that's why we are starting to see these localized geographies of like each country having their own security companies. And I think NASSCOM in India is also doing a lot of stuff around, or government of India saying, I will spend a lot of money for Indian startups in security, and I want homegrown security companies. I
Yeah.
think.
And also, for example, and I'll say a real thing. For example, we'll possibly, as a government or a country, not accept Chinese security companies. Not that they're bad, but because we don't trust them. I mean, we don't trust the Chinese government, not necessarily the companies. And some in China, there is a very thin line between a Chinese company and the and the central government. Ashish, coming back to you, you're in 17, 18 countries, right? He talked about the market in the US, how to market. Now, of course, your product has appeal, but is it because you've gone outside because of valuation, or is there a real market, or the market in India is smaller, hence you are already addressing markets that are developed and are more open and have short sales cycle? Give us a sense of why not focus fully on India, which is growing, where you're based, uh, rather than go out to 16, 17 markets and dilute.
So I'd kind of like to go back, if you allow me, a couple of minutes to talk about all the things we spoke about. So as a company, I want to give a little bit different perspective. So Prakash has a perspective. I have a different perspective as well. So firstly, I didn't go to 17 countries because as Indusface, we started off India. We realized this is our strength, and all that Prakash and Prayank mentioned are true. Anywhere you go, you need to build, especially as a security company, you need to build trust. You need to build confidence specifically in that geography, and I don't dispute that point. I think the customers we got are because of the platforms like we use AWS and all that stuff. Now they are located anywhere in the world, and these are customers who just came to us and said, we are now servicing a customer in Australia. We are signing up another customer in Singapore. We have a few customers in Sri Lanka. I mean, I'm just saying these customers just came because they saw that we are on the platform. They went and saw, and those are. And some of the things, I think those are some of the aspects which are helping us build that. Whether we are focusing on India or not, absolutely we are focusing on India because we feel that that's with the Prime Minister, the kind of Prime Minister we have, focusing on digital, all the new things which are happening. Like if NASSCOM says that in the next few years there'll be 4 times increase in startups, and there are lots of other aspects that are coming in. We feel security is definitely going to be, and because we secure those web applications, we feel that there's a huge market opening up in India as well, right? Having said that, we just started now, but we understand that US is a big market. You know, as you said, valuations, and you know, if you have to do an exit, you need to kind of be in that market as well. So like Priyank said, what we did was, first thing we did was, I just hired my VP of Americas in San Francisco. I was in the Valley because I need to be there. Second, I got a senior guy, and by the way, he was the vice president of Trend Micro. Trend Micro is the #1 security company of the world. So they joined an Indian startup. He has taken that plunge. He left them, came on board. He's full time working with me, and runs my US operations. So I think those are some of the things which we are getting over. There are other. We are trying to get to establish credibility. We are, you know, being on AWS, we are there. AWS is the largest event. We are trying to showcase our product there. We are doing a lot of events with them. We have to build our brand. You know, AWS as a partner as well. You know, AWS has recognized Indusface last year as the most innovative product on their platform. I mean, that's a huge credibility which comes to me. Again, an Indian company, right? So that's helping me get there. Gartner has recognized us as. So those are some of the things we are trying to do and build credibility. And our focus there, again, the market we are going after is, I'm not going after a Boeing or a Microsoft and all those things, because definitely they are going to ask me, similar customers there. But we're looking at more of small and medium enterprises which want the security, and our solution being completely managed, it works well for them, and some of these credible aspects are helping us. We are seeing traction starting to build in the market. So all those things we said is right, but I think there is now an opportunity to circumvent them and explore that market. I don't think being an Israeli or a US company is the only aspect. Most of the secure US companies are run by Indians, right? It's high time we get these things right. One aspect which I feel as Indusface would help, like, as I said, multi-million-dollar ARR, so many customers, now in US, stuff like that. I think the thing which can help a product company like me, and which I'm working on, is to, currently everything is, we are a bootstrap company, right? Everything is pumped in by our profits. We make money, and we are not using it to take profits home and give dividends to ourselves. We are using it to expand, right? I mean, getting a guy in the US, such a senior guy, is not cheap, right? Doing stuff.
Possibly also with wealth creation plans.
Correct. Now, the point is that it's now time for some of the investment community to step up, you know, to kind of see, is this I think there is a, I think as Priyank mentioned, I think there is a general feeling that India is not that big enough from the criteria of exit, and you have to get US. So, right, and so people like Prakash and me are working, so we are like, okay, we'll get US customers, and then you'll get, so I'm trying to hold back, but maybe I should, that what is the, you know, if as a startup, let's ignore myself. Let's look at a startup. You're doing a startup. What is that you need? You need a VC who comes in and just doesn't give me money. I want him to get me light talent. The VP of engineering of Symantec is now a CTO of Indusface. He moved from Valley to India. He's in Bangalore, right? But these things were expected from my investor friends, right? They would bring in that. All the startups want that help, right? You want help as to guide. You need money. You need guidance. But because of this chicken and egg situation in India about the security product companies we're going through, get US customers and then we'll invest. I think that's why you see fewer, right? Most of us are doing all our stuff on our own, and we are saying, now we need growth capital, right? I mean, you know, we'll either y'all or we'll get somebody else, but put money in. I think those are some of the real challenges I feel, not me, but I think a lot of entrepreneurial security product startup vendors would definitely face.
Priyank wants to come in, and Prakash, I want to bring you on. One, you know, in the defense space, and in the defense space, I want to give you 2 examples. There is this company out of Kanpur called MKU. It was in our defense issue. Businessworld did a 3 issues back, a business of defense. And it makes bulletproof vests. It makes the best bulletproof vests in the world. According to my friend Maruf Raza, it makes the best. But it doesn't get a single order from the Indian government. The Indian government gives orders to a PSU because it's safe. Nobody can tell them that, you know, there was any underhand dealings. So really, similarly, this company that I was talking to you about, Bukhanwala Industries, I'll give you the name, right? He's an INSEAD grad. big business family. He started this business. He's doing really world-class products, world-class manufacturing, really best in class, and competing with American companies. And he's really built a big company. But he doesn't get orders in India. Maybe, so I'm seeing a very similar situation here, right? Possibly Prakash made a lot of money and he said, let's sell to Cisco. But one of the reasons of selling would be to get that network, to get that access, to say we're part of Cisco. So I really want you to, I think this is a theme you can address because you've done exits, you set up your company, you also see smaller companies that are trying to compete with you now, right? So just give a sense of how do you see it moving forward from here?
Sure. So, no VC believed in me, unfortunately. Every time I went to a VC, they were like, no, this is not the space that we understand. If you look
Plus, you may be profitable very soon, so you don't lose money early. So it's not a business you want to be.
Right. Yeah, reasons are multiple. But, the primary reason a VC puts money in your company is how are they going to see their return in an exit, right? And we all talked about, how difficult it is to sell into enterprise, leave alone security. But when it comes to security, it is even more difficult as a startup with unknown brand name and, claiming that you're, solving a cutting edge problem, or a problem that's going to be becoming huge in the future. It's all adds up, and the VC looks at it, say, well, the only thing I can trust is if there is a lot of customer writing you a check, and it becomes a chicken or egg situation. You need the brand name, and for you to build the market, for you to build the brand name, you need the money, and without the money, you won't be able to do that. So it becomes a chicken or egg situation. So the key, what I realized after spending some time with the investors, what I realized is unless you have something very differentiable, it is hard to get the recognition that you truly deserve. So in our case, we decided, okay, for me as a company, I am never going to be able to have 100, 200 guys on the field going, meeting with the enterprise all the time, wine and dine, and get the revenues going. So I decided very early on, I am going to differentiate myself through IP. And the way we did that, we filed the patents, and 5 of them granted out of the 6. Sixth one is in the process right now. And with that, we were able to actually go in to the CTO offices of large companies like Symantec, McAfee, etc., and say, you know what, we have it, you don't. Prove it to me otherwise. It kind of a bit of an arrogance, and especially that comes across from a startup, from unknown geography, it really helps, right? And that's the same kind of conversation we started having with Cisco also. Knowing very well that on our own, without funding, it is not going to be viable for us to run the company from the revenues, we had to go in and we had to partner up. So that is how we ended up with a big brand like Cisco.
Fantastic. I think we could go on discussing it because, one of the nice things about this panel is that they are saying real things and not good things to say on a panel. We do lots of events, and people say very goody things on the panel. So what I'm liking about this panel and the panelists is they're really being honest and real about what the scenario is. And things are changing. On day before yesterday, I was with Andre of Systema. They've invested in Seclor, right? This is a security company. So I think also this is, there is the rat race in every domain, subdomain. So as you see a little more investments coming from some players, you will see the VCs focusing on this and saying, okay, let's get a security company, right? We don't have a security company in our portfolio. Shall we look at one more? I'm sure more than the companies, they watch each other, right? What is Nexus doing? What is Lightspeed doing? What is Tiger doing, right? So I think in my little bit of understanding of this space, with the CISO becoming more important, with spends on security becoming bigger, with VCs putting money in 3 or 4 Indian companies, I think over the next 2 years, you should see at least 8 to 10 companies in the security space being funded. That's my sense. Priyank?
No, I think it's very interesting. All of you have pointed a lot of fingers at VCs, and I'm the only VC in the room, so I have to defend the VCs in some form or shape. But having said that, I think there are a bunch of things. I think each of you, what you're saying, has some merit to it, right? So let me start off with the easier one, which you said, Anurag, that VCs look at each other. Yes, VCs do look at each other, because the reason for that simply is if there is a successful business model which somebody has discovered, why should I not input money in a similar company, right? So why is
You're assuming that they know that it.
No, I'm saying they have done some evaluation. We're saying why not? Maybe that's it. I'm not saying we will. So, for example, Accel has never invested in any auto listing company. We have not invested in Car Dekho, Car Wale. There's so many companies out there.
My friends.
We have never invested in any company which is doing bike or, because simply we could never get a sense of why is this valuable for us, and it does not hit our benchmark criteria or business understanding. So yes, we do look at what other competition guys are, but then we have to take our own call.
Of course.
So just on that point. Now coming to Ashish's point, I think Ashish has brought a very interesting point, which is he's built his company bootstrapped, not taken, and actually both Ashish and Prakash didn't take money from VCs, build their companies, and always they got this feedback that show me customers from outside of India. I can't unless you have customers in a security company, I will not put money there. And I think that's a very critical point. It's not just for security, it's a B2B. When you do a B2B startup, especially when you're building a software startup for which we as a VC feel that there's not enough market in India. And let me qualify that, right? So you said a point that bulletproof vests are not being bought by the Indian government. The point is, or something else, for example, right? So yes, in industry like, in any B2B industry, there's a lot of matter of trust. I'm going to deal with this company. What if this company is not going to be there tomorrow? Right? And that's a problem which is there for all companies. In security companies or any B2B company, what we also try to look at is, if you do not have customer traction, in consumer company it's very easy to find customer traction. You go and show your product to 10 saw 100,000 customers. It's easy. You can.
Or you spend VC's money on GMV.
No. First
and
is
get like 1 million customers spending.
No, but why you don't?
No, I'm kidding.
We never tell our companies to get 1 million customers in day one. We say, can you get 10,000 customers? 10,000 customers, you'll have to spend, let's say, 500 rupees, 5 lakh rupees. You can go and get it, right? Sure. But to get one B2B customer, it's very hard. You need to have sales guys who have to do multiple rounds. It takes 6, 7, and getting a B2C customer traction. Let's say I run a few Facebook ads and I can get an answer in a week. But in a B2B company,
selling cycles are longer.
6 to 9 months for you to sell, and then another 6 months for the customer to say, yes, I'm happy with this. Actually, that's the other problem, and that's why VCs like to wait in B2B companies to see, in software companies specifically, to see. The second problem is, it's nothing to do with Indian companies not doing good products or anything like that. The software world is open to everyone. So if you create a product, somebody will take that idea and say, it's an interesting idea, let me create another product. And then it's all about algorithms, how good one guy is versus the other guy. So a VC has I know a startup can't wait, but a VC can wait to get the next best company to fund, right? So because we have to be right, to our investors, we have to be right once. We have to be putting money in the right company.
Sure.
So we wait. And I know it looks very negative from the outside, because our job, like when I joined the company, the thought process is to reject everything. So we are seeing 3,000 companies, to give you some sense, 4,000 companies in a year, and we only invest in 20 companies, right? I personally look at 800 companies a year, and I would invest in 2 companies. So my job, whenever the meeting starts, the highly likelihood is that you're going to get a no from me. So I am always the bad guy, right? And even after I give money, I have to still convince the entrepreneur here, I'm asking you hard questions, why is your profit not growing, and he will still think I'm the bad guy. So my job is to be the bad guy.
As long as you give him a lot of money, it doesn't matter. You can ask him any question.
The problem is
I've raised capital twice, so it's okay. Give me money, ask me questions at the end of it. It's okay. We'll ask questions because there's the next panel. We started at 11:35. We will finish at 12:35. Yes, sir.
No, actually the question is, okay. The question actually, to start on a lighter note, the question is for you, Anurag, because we are connected on LinkedIn, and I follow updates. I don't know where you get those, inspirational stuff from.
I built a product company. My name is Anurag Batra. So my joke is that I built a bot called Batra, which posts that. That's a joke.
I probably you say that to everyone.
No, I actually say it to I send a lot of emails.
Okay.
So my team asks me, so in fact, if I don't send them for 1 day, 2 day mail, some of my senior guys call me and ask me, oh, everything's okay? Right? So I tell them, no, the Batra is downtime. Yeah, something like that. But what's the question?
Yeah, my question is on security, just to bring us back from the VC versus security companies. My question is very straightforward because I'm a founder of an edtech company. Edtech, education tech.
Edtech, education tech.
So, where do you draw the line in security? Because, different people like fintech company would require more security, more encryption and all that stuff. But, different companies have, so where do you draw the line? There's some limit to getting paranoid, So how do you work out in those cases?
Correct. So I think that's a very good question. And it's also, one of the other things I realized in my last 5 years is, and I've been in security last 11 years now, right? That the messaging also has to change. Earlier, companies like startups like yours, I can't be telling you, giving me mumbo jumbos of machine learning and DDoS and layer 7 and XSS and SQL, and you are going to be let lost in that, right? I think another thing which is evolving is the messaging. For example, if you talk to my sales guy, he will tell you, and you say, I'm a startup, and say, guys, don't worry, you give me X amount of dollars, we will give you a service, and we will make sure your website is secure. Don't worry about it. That's the message, right? Whether it's a DDoS attack or whether it's somebody trying to hack your website, we will take complete responsibility of your website. I think a simple messaging would help. And being a SaaS provider, what we are saying is, we have several edtech companies as well, and so we get global information and we'll put it for you. This is not your job. I don't expect. So we discussed about CIOs and CISOs. I actually have another theory as well. So we put 3 buckets of customers. The startups and the small medium companies, I think they are run by CTOs, best CTOs and best CEOs. They build their apps in the cloud, and they want to move at internet speed and become $1 billion company. That's the way they think. They are spending money on marketing, they're building great technology, but security is important. And what we tell them is, guys, you don't have the time, neither the inclination nor the expertise to do it. So my messaging is, give me your website. And we have, like, lately our biggest, the fastest growing segment is startups. Because startups says, I don't understand all these things. What do I need to do? And my answer to you would be, give me your edtech domain, and in 15 minutes, we'll get you secured.
Pinglearn.com, that's how it goes.
They basically say, hum hai na.
Yeah, I got the point.
They say hum hai na.
Basically
That
takes
kind of
complete responsibility. I got it, thank you.
Yeah.
See, but just on that, right? So security is actually a running target in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Right? Because
Goalposts are changing, threats are changing.
For any company, you will never be able to judge how secure you are on a scale of 1 to 100. You can say I have this, but tomorrow some other attack will happen, and so I think most security products are unfortunately sold on that response basis. Yeah. Some basic initial setup is there, but after that it's a response basis.
Agreed. So we another learning for us. So we.
What's your name? What do you do?
So I just wanted to ask you, I'll just keep it like, what are the kind of initiatives are you guys looking at, especially for you?
Pramit, that could be said for any domain in India. I think if you compare it with global standards, we're really not comparable, right? We're not in that league. So I think that's genuinely true of almost every domain, possibly even more true for this domain. So anyway, now Prakash and...
Yeah, you're right. It applies for all industries, not just security industry. If you look at US, there is a phenomenal relationship between the commercial industry and the academic industry. A lot of research happens in the university labs. They are all well funded. You probably are going to find more talent in the university and academic environment than in the commercial environment. So, it's a well-known fact that a lot of funds goes there for the R&D work, and then the finished goods comes back into the commercialization. Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of a mature environment. I know IITs and the other institutions are trying to get there. They do get some research dollars, but nothing compared to what happens in the Western world. And I think we are ways off in terms of catching up.
Fantastic. So let me say what Elizabeth Taylor said to many of her suitors. We won't keep you long. You have long hair, so I'll allow you a question. I like people who have long hair, right?
Hi, I'm founder of Hotbase. I run a cybersecurity company based out of Hyderabad. We use ML to do live mitigation.
Question.
My question is, you asked me. My question is actually a pointer to be made. When we started our company, we did a services model and then converted our services customers to a product. So money was never a problem. And it also is a validation, so to say. So investors would do come if you actually have a good model.
So he's commenting, he's validating what you said in some way. Fine, we take that. We'll wrap up. Again, we have two entrepreneurs, and you're entrepreneurial, you say you failed or your idea failed. So we'll close by asking them a question on one advice to entrepreneurs in this room. There are some of you who said, 70% of you in the room said you want to be entrepreneurs or are entrepreneurs. So one advice for entrepreneurs, and second is one trend in this domain that you'd like to make a prediction on. Quick Twitter like. So we can start with you, Ashish.
So as a person who has been hanging out there for several years, I feel, one, you have to be convinced about yourself and the product idea you have. Second is be realistic, do a real evaluation of the market size, and then 100% get onto it and make it happen. It will happen.
And one prediction for the security product industry.
So overall, it's $100 billion and all that. But at least for my area, I think it's a big area for me. I think it's currently at $2.5 billion, and it's going at 28%. In 2020, it's supposed to be $6 billion. So I feel application security is a big area. Don't think about getting in because I'm really big enough now.
Yeah, very good. You're scaring people. Huh? Prakash?
Yeah, just one advice is never give up. There were many times, so many people.
I'll tell Rahul Gandhi when I meet him in Delhi.
Except for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, there were many times that people said, okay, this year he is going to shut it down.
Be
only
dogged.
advice,
Be in the game long
persist.
enough.
Exactly.
Yeah. And one prediction for the security product industry.
I think it is only going to grow with the number of internet devices coming into the picture, IoT coming into the picture. So there is going to be a whole lot of opportunity in terms of network security, application security, identity security, data security. It's only going to be growing from here on.
Thank you so much. And the man with the money.
So, as a VC, I've realized this. Bad market, good founders, market wins. Good market, bad founders, market wins. Good market, good founders.
You never talk about investors. Huh? Good investors, bad investors.
If it's a good market,
Only
investors will come.
Okay.
So I think what Ashish mentioned, right? Market is very important. So, but you have to also find the right market for you.
So when I was in the business school, one of my profs used to say, "There's a niche in the market, and there's a market in the niche." So I think it's a niche where there's a market, and in this market there's a niche. So and one advice to entrepreneurs.
I think we are very interested in anything which is AI-led security for IoT, for drones, for network.
So you should sit in the next session, right?
Yeah.
You should be in the audience. So please give this panel a big round of applause. If there's one industry or one domain where there is a hope of creating a product company, possibly this is the domain. Otherwise, we'll be a sweatshop for the world, and we'll build Me Too products and not really products that change the world. So thank you for being a great audience, and all the best with the next session. Thank you. You can give them a big round of applause. Clapping improves your heartbeat and makes you healthy, so it's okay.